Okay, I am live. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's just gonna have to do. It's just gonna have to be on a little bit of an angle. Let me share this as always. I'm in my car. It's still in road trip mode. Everyone's asking me, where the fuck have you gone? Well, they haven't been, but I can feel everyone's like, where's Hannah gone? I just got in the car and left again after 3 days. It was supposed to be 3 weeks. And I'm I'm jumping on live to talk about this because, oh my goodness, talk about trusting your intuition. Holy moly. All right, here we go. Let me share this as always. Say hi when you're here. Let me know how you guys are feeling with this whole corona thing, because, you know, how are you feeling in the world? How are you going? All that does, because I feel like I haven't even caught up on all my work yet, and I'm just like, okay, let me share this and let me start talking, because oh my goodness. There's still parts of me going, what the flip are you doing, Hannah? But then I come into town to get reception and I'm like, oh, that's right. That's why we ended up doing it. Okay, let me share this in a group. In my reality awareness support group. Okay. So I'm sitting in my car. I even just did a live stream in the Life Purpose Mentorship Training Group. Took my tripod out. I'm like, yes, got my tripod, I'm going to sit down. And I'm like, even the little piece, like the, you know, sit on the top, like I'd taken that out for travel and put it away because I didn't want it to snap off, accidentally bumping along in the road. And yeah, just had to hold my phone. So I'm still doing it anyway. And now the wind's picked up. So I'm in my car. So, where am I? I'm in Victoria and I jumped in the car. You guys know I just came back from out west. You guys also know, if you've been following me, that my heart was not happy on the coast. I was just like, what? Like, you know, and the whole thing about that is like, where's my home? Like, what am I doing? Da, da, da. And, you know, and it's so interesting, right? So I got back from out west. I spent 2 weeks out there, out in the Australian outback, and then, you know, and you there's so many pieces to this, right? So I trust that you follow me, okay? So I left originally, you know, I was like, be prepared, something's coming, and like I listened and I packed the car and we left. I put everything in the shipping container and I drove west inland, 3 days drive, 1,600 kilometers in the middle of the outback where I was born, you know, saw dad, all that jazz, beautiful. But I was like, went through all these emotions because, you know, like didn't have, the category 4 cyclone didn't happen. And I'm like, what is this about, you know? And all this doubt and all of this stuff come up, of course, right? I went through all these emotions. And anyway, driving back home, I was like, what the flip was all that about? You know, I'm like, for serious, like, anyway, got back home, not happy there, right? Just like all the emotions. Why did that even happen? Why did, you know, like, be prepared, nothing freaking happened, you know? Like, yeah, there was some flooding, but that's kind of normal in the floodplains, right? Anyway, as always, continue to trust my intuition. And as soon as we got back home, like, immediately I put my car in for a service. I, you know, like restocked the, you know, the tackle box and the pantry, like everything back on the road, and then the whole toilet paper. And I'm like, I'm just gonna go get it all now, you know? Like, didn't plan to leave anywhere. I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna make sure we've got it all. So if we have to pack up and go again, we don't have to go shopping. We just put it in the car and we leave. And, you know, and that was just, I don't know, it wasn't out of the fear or anything. It was just like, right, and then put the car in for service and get this done, and like, you know, all these things so that if we could go again, we could. Anyway, it's so interesting because I was like, cool, like, we're gonna, you know, go on this other road trip, like, let's get on the road again. But I wasn't going for 3 weeks, and I woke up last Thursday morning and I got 3. Now, this is where we interpret our intuition, and we interpret our intuition and it creates a whole different reality, right? And the interpretation of the intuitive messages that you receive is life-changing and crucial and so important, right? And it takes practice to decipher this. Now, even like I said last week, I woke up and I got 3. Now, I thought 3rd of April. Okay, cool. We're leaving on the 3rd of April. That's 3 weeks away. Sweet. I've got all these 3 weeks to get prepared, do work stuff so we can get on the road. And it wasn't 3 weeks. It was 3 days. And I'm like, talk about a misinterpretation of the intuitive like messages. I'm like, right, because I just got 3, I didn't get 3rd. I just assumed it was the 3rd, like 3rd of April. I looked on the calendar, I'm like, oh yeah, 3rd of April, right? So it wasn't necessarily 3 weeks, like 3 weeks, right? It was 3 days, not 3 weeks. But I interpreted 3 of 3 days, right? I mean 3 weeks, but it was actually 3 days. And it's so interesting, right? Because here I am in country Victoria at an off-grid property with no reception. So you can imagine all the feelings I'm going through. Like, what the fuck am I doing on an off-grid property, learning all the off-grid stuff? That's kind of nice. But how am I supposed to run an online business with no freaking reception? Like, come on. Like, I knew that where I was coming to. Like, do you know what I mean? But there's like reception up on the hill. But I'm like, how is this going to work? You know, like that bit didn't really comprehend. I'm like, cool, there's reception. I can just go and work on the hill. Like, but I need a lot more net reception than that. Of course, all blessing in disguise, all meant to be. Now, you know, there's so many pieces to this, right? And the piece I really want to share is that, you know, I drove for 3 days. You know, I love road tripping. It wasn't a really big deal or whatever. And, you know, like, but on Tuesday I drove for 10 hours. That was a big day. When we came back from Broken Hill, I drove 8 hours, and, you know, that was a big day. But 10 hours was pushing it a bit. He's like wondering what I'm doing in the car. So 10 hours was pushing it. I was like, right, I'm not doing that again. But we got here, and this is 1700 Ks. So I understand that the Category 4 cyclone and packing up and leaving was preparing me for this. Now, it's kind of interesting because arriving, you know, all good, it's beautiful property, learning off-grid stuff, like, this is my heart and my home, you know what I mean? Like, back to full natural, like, organic, like, I was like, oh my God, right? But the part of me, hey, Teresa, the part of me that's like, how the fuck am I supposed to run an online business with no flipping reception, right? Now, in saying that, right, that's just my process around processing the emotions of the change, of the routines. And of course, you know, I've broken down crying so many freaking times, and the animals settling, and like how we even, like, just the whole thing, right? And the piece about it, you know, for me is because, you know, I break down crying and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, Hannah? Like, how am I supposed to work? How am I supposed to, you know, like, you know what I mean? My life is my business online, and, you know, it has been for a long time. But a big piece of this is that, you know, like, go on the hill, and I'm like, yeah. And anyway, yesterday I'm like, cool, we'll just go into town. I sit at a cafe, I go to the library, and like come into town, and the library and all that stuff is shut because of the coronavirus. And I'm like, oh, that's right. That's why we got in the car and freaking left. Because there is no, okay, this is why I got in the car and drove for 3 days, right? Drove for 3 days. Within 3 days of like getting that intuition, it was supposed to be 3 weeks. I was like, no, I've got it. Like, intuitively I knew I had to go, right? Like, I wasn't ready. Ultimately, I wasn't ready work-wise ready. Like, do you know what I mean? I wanted to catch up on work. I wanted to do stuff in my work, right? But the car was ready. As soon as I got back from that Broken Hill trip, I'd put my car in for service. Didn't need it. I just did it, right? I did all this stuff to pack up road trip stuff again. Like, I intuitively knew I was going again, but consciously I was like, So it's kind of interesting, right? Like, everything I did prepared, like even like going like down to appointments and all that stuff. Like, it just, I don't know, it's quite amazing to me ultimately. Anyway, and then how I ended up in country Victoria at an off-grid property, like that came about like 2 days after I got back from Broken Hill. You know, that's when it started, and I was just like, oh yeah, maybe that's an option. Like, oh, there's no internet, no, I can't do that, you know. And it was like back and forth, and I'm like, actually, I really feel like I need to go. I have no idea why. I have no idea where I'm really going. You know, like, anyone would just think I'm crazy and you don't do that stuff, Hannah. And I'm like, oh, this is my life. Like, I trust my intuition and I don't know where it's leading me, but I know I have to go. And we did, right? And so it's so interesting that I've ended up here. But it was like, you know, and a big part of it was because of the lockdown stuff. I'm like, there is no way I want to be locked down in my home in suburbia. Like, that was just, nah. You know, like, just in the energy and the frenetic energy of it, I was just like, I'm not interested. Like, it just, and it wasn't out of fear. It was just like, I choose not to, and I have got the freedom to choose not to, and I'm going to take it. However, the day that I made the decision, like that morning, I was like, okay, I know I need to do this. And I was so nervous, and I was just like, and was like, I don't know, you know, and I'm like, I don't know, because like logically my mind was like, but you've got all this work to do, you know, like you need to catch up and prepare and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, sweet. And then, you know, and the other part of me is like, I need to go, like, you know. And then so I spoke to my girlfriend Jade. Thank you, Jade, I love you so much. And I said, I'm so nervous, like I can go, but I'm really nervous about this. I hope my phone doesn't overheat. Yeah. And she said she'd just been processing freedom, and I trust you won't mind me showing this. This is my girlfriend Jade. Not where I want to be stuck. Yes, exactly. I had a choice to not be stuck at home in suburbia, so I chose to take that opportunity of freedom, right? And she'd said to me, she's like, oh, I've actually been processing this morning, and she said, freedom, what did she say? Freedom, she didn't say freedom makes me nervous. What did she say? Freedom makes me, or maybe she did something along those lines. It was like, freedom makes me nervous, and I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what it is. And then it shifted, and I was like, we're going. Because I have that, you know, it's the same when I always talk about, you know, the chains, like you've got the chains on your lifestyle and you're creating this freedom lifestyle, but then when it's there, the opportunity's there, do you take it? Like, this is exactly what it was. And then as soon as she said it, shifted it, and I was like, we're going. And we left the next morning, like, you know, well, I did the live stream, I left Sunday afternoon, later than I expected, but all meant to be. And just like, yeah, it's quite amazing. So yeah, let me know how you guys are like coping with the corona stuff, because honestly, like, I'm off grid and I'm like still arriving. I haven't really arrived yet. I feel like it takes 3 days to energetically arrive. We're starting to get into a groove of it. I'm in town, so I got reception, and just like figuring this out, like, how am I supposed to run an online business and do this? And I know I'll get into a groove of it, of course, but the universe is definitely pushing me into, you know, having a team, having help, receiving in so many other ways. And even, you know, this property, another, like, you know, pull to come down here was like, well, ultimately I'm looking for somewhere to hold the reality awareness retreats. Like, that is, you know, what I'm also sussing out. Like, the whole thing is like, okay, let me see where this takes me. Let me see, because I have actually no idea why I'm here, other than the fact that I chose not to be in the energy of suburbia, of the current, like, all of the world stuff. And to be honest, I had so many feelings driving here, and so many feelings like trying to process what I was doing. And, you know, and I keep hey Erin, say hi when you're here. Like, I'd love to hear how you're going, and if you got any questions, let me know. I'm all ears. So yeah, just, you know, I'd be driving and almost blocking out the world in a sense of just like, is this really happening? You know, and honestly, like, I wouldn't be on this road trip. I wouldn't be here in Victoria if it wasn't going on. Just like the, you know, road trip to out west with my dad. Like, I wouldn't have done that if the Category 4 cyclone hadn't pushed me into it. That didn't even eventuate. So I think I've been driving here. Well, I've arrived on Tuesday afternoon. I think I've been driving here with the same thing. Like, you know, the Category 4 cyclone didn't eventuate, and so there's been a part of me that's maybe been a bit blocked or oblivious to what's happening in the world driving here for 3 days, because it's like, well, the Category 4 cyclone didn't happen, and like, well, I'm doing this road trip because I choose to anyway. It's not like the world event's pushing me to do that, you know. And then I come in, like, there's no reception. I'm like, what are we doing here? And I come into town and I'm like, oh fuck, this is really happening in the world, right? Like, oh my goodness. So yeah, let me check these comments, but feel free to ask me any questions while I'm on live stream, guys, about anything at all. But I just wanted to touch base, of course, and just let you know, like, I'm in country Victoria, I'm off grid. I'm pretty like excited about it, because I know what's birthing out of me in this space. Like, even though I'm harping on right now and I don't have reception, and how am I running an online business, and I'm like, well, that's why you've got an online business, so you can do whatever you want, and it's just a matter of planning my time, right? And the key for me, like the piece for me, is being out there with no reception, is I could still energetically tune into what's going on in the world, because that's my gift. But the other piece is like, there's so much work I can do offline. Like, at home, like, I have to consciously log off and close everything down so I can get my creative work done. Out here, and I could already feel what's wanting to birth out of me. And like, it's just so interesting that I've been drawn here on this property with these people, and just like, and off grid has never been a thing for me. I'm like, nah, give me luxury, please. You know, ultimately my heart is like, in that natural state. And it's so interesting because I gave up all the natural stuff, I gave up all the organic stuff, I gave up all my luxury stuff, health stuff, whatever, and I put all my energy, all my dedicated focus, all my everything into building my online business, because ultimately I chose to make sacrifices, and not even sacrifices, but I chose to do certain things to create this lifestyle, to live organically, to, you know, because people know, they're like, it's expensive to, you know, like, you know, buy that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I created a business, like, not just for that, but you know what I mean, like, to support the lifestyle that brings my heart alive. And here I am all of a sudden on this off-grid property that is like all organic stuff, and everything is just, honestly, it is like magic. Not just the property, the entire scenario of going out Broken Hill. And there's so much more to this story that I haven't shared with you guys yet, and you're just gonna have to wait for the right time about that, sorry. But you know, like, going out to Broken Hill, if you guys have been following me, you've been seeing my blogs, you've been seeing what I've been writing, you've been seeing all that, like, where's my home, where, you know. And after a while it was like, well, we've got a home on the road for now, and we're gonna go on this massive road trip again after 2 weeks of going on another road trip, because I can, because I choose to. And ultimately we're finding where our home is, because Queensland doesn't feel like home anymore. And here I am all of a sudden here. But you know, just that off-grid living has always been a dream of mine. I just never really comprehended how I would do it, right? And it's got to be luxury off-grid living. Is that even a thing? I don't know. But my heart and soul is so here, because in this space, it's like, without technology, like, there's so much work that I can create, like meditations and wanting to pour out of me right now, and always like, oh my god, there's so many amazing things coming up that, you know, once I find in get in this groove, which day 2 today I'm already starting to, hence me being here. You know, like, of course there's all the practicalities, and I'm still breaking down in tears over, you know, things, because for me, crying helps me release the stress and helps me get back on path really quickly. But ultimately my heart is so happy, because I'm like, wow, this is like, I've got the freedom to even do this and be here. And thank you, coronavirus. And it's just so interesting, the world's falling apart, and here I am coming together to create what my heart's, and I'm just like, whoa, there's something so much huger to this that I don't know right now. Even the fact that I'm out of the energy of like the coronavirus, in a way, stuff, right, of just the media and just the constant, like, you know, like, you go to shops and it's like, go to a cafe. I went to a cafe yesterday and people were talking about it, and I'm like, give me my music, I can't do this right now. Stop talking about it, you know. Not just like, it's just I don't want to hear it, you know what I mean, because I'm just like, it's going on, it's happening, you know. But it's, yeah, anyway, so let me just check these comments here. I don't want to talk to myself. Okay, so a couple of comments here. I'm okay, helping out my community, keeping people alive on ventilators in their homes. I'm a nurse. Wow, that's so huge. So where am I off to? I just wanted to say you're in a divine service role there, Joy. Where I'm off to, in country Victoria at the moment. I just drove 3 days just to get here. I'm going to stay put here until my intuition tells me otherwise. Yeah, it's kind of what I did with Dad as well, like road trips, like, yeah. And that was even the thing before I left home. It was like, yeah, we can just get on the road, but ultimately for my work, for everything that I do, I need to travel somewhere and then plonk down for a bit, and then I can travel somewhere and plonk down. I can't just constantly be on the road yet because I don't have a team yet. This is forcing me to get a team, but just all these pieces around, you know, all of that, yeah, which is really awesome. But yeah, so Erin says it's pretty bad here in New York. I'd love to hear more about what you're experiencing there a little bit. You know, what's making it bad for you, Erin? Would love to hear more. Penny says, love this journey. Yeah, I do love this journey. Erin says, do you think this coronavirus will end soon? And Joy says, birth it out. Yes, this is birthing my reality, something fierce. And oh my God, there's so much more I haven't told you guys, but just gonna have to wait. Rhiannon says, I'm in isolation and loving it. I know, man, this is the thing, like, completely isolated out here too. And I'm like, it's quite amazing to me, right? You know how I always say, like, the birthing process, or even the masculine and feminine energy, the in, and when we do internal work, when we do personal development work, it's an in state, it's a, you know, we're in here and we're doing all the internal changes. And it's so interesting, everyone has to go into isolation, so we're forced in to like do all this reworking and rewiring on so many different levels, you know, like shops, like everything's shut down. I don't need to go through, you guys know what's going on, right? And when I always say, you know, like when we're processing something, just leave everything else for a moment, just do the internal work, and then when we come back out, everything's transformed, or it starts to ripple out and your reality starts transforming, right? So it's kind of interesting that on a global level, this is what's happening, yeah? So when you say, okay, so Steve says, I'm in infection control as a job, so it's right in my face. Yes, but I'm not feeling the fear everyone else seems to be. Very strange bubble women. Okay, let me speak to that, right? Because I feel that I've been drawn out here to this space to remove me from the energetic bubble. You know, like, you know what it feels like when you're in a city and then you go out to the country, there's a very different energy, right? You're out of the collective energy. It's like when you're in somebody else's aura, you know, feel it. Or if you've got someone in your house, like you can feel it's a different energy in your house in a way, right? So I feel, and this is what I feel is going on for you, Steve, and for a lot of us light workers, we are holding an energetic vibration that is not in fear. I can't remember, someone shared with me the facts about it the other day or whenever, a couple of weeks ago, you know, but it's something like, you know, one positive thought outweighs 10 negative thoughts or something, right? So one powerful light worker holds the vibration for like 10,000 negative people, for example. It's something crazy like that. And when I look at what I've been drawn out here for, and even who I've been talking to out here and why I'm even here and all this sort of thing, and amongst my tears and all this sort of stuff, is that we are holding a vibrational bubble, as you say. So interesting, I was even using those words. We are holding a vibrational bubble that is not in fear. We are holding a vibrational bubble of the bigger picture of actually what's going on. The world is transforming right now, and I always harp on about this when the crown chakra opens, right? Crown, corona means crown, right? Crown chakra is opening. Well, and this is where I work from the chakras coming down, right, to let the light in the body. And it's so interesting what's happening in the world, right? So the crown chakra is opening. When we open the crown chakra, the heart chakra is automatically activated, yeah, because the light comes in, and the heart chakra and the crown chakra are very aligned with the same value system, so to speak. I don't know how to say it any other way than that. Penny says, yes, it's like what we've been training for. Exactly, right? This is what we've been doing all the work for. And this is our job as a healer, as a light worker, as all of that, that when the world falls into chaos, we hold space for people. Now, it's not like, oh, I'm holding space for these people. The vibration and who we are and our mindset, our consciousness, our energy, our taking care of ourselves, all our boundaries, everything that we do holds a different vibration to people who are not yet awake. And we are the light bearers, the people who hold the way vibrationally. Now, we don't have to be amongst the chaos to do that, right? But we could be in there. And as Steve's saying, and it's so awesome to hear that, you're like, it's like I'm in my own little bubble. And it's like, yeah, when we've got that awareness of actually what's going on in the world, we're not in that fear, right? Now, maybe some bad things will come out of this. Who really knows, right? But ultimately, we can't predict the future, but we can contribute to the future we want by holding the vibration of that until it becomes a reality. Yeah, like that is key. And it's so interesting. And I'm going to share this because I was talking to clients before, and I feel like I've been telling client after client after client. So when building a new reality, right, now you can put this into, and if I look at my life now, this is like primary, right? I've created this life. It didn't just happen. I've created the car that enabled us to do these road trips, the whole thing. Right? It's a co-creation with spirit. And let me explain. When I talk about journaling every day, I harp on it for a reason. I've been doing this online business for nearly 4 years now. And now I'm actually living the freedom of what I was journaling about back when I started. Now, the piece that I've been telling my clients over and over and over today, and on live stream and like the Life Purpose Mentorship, is you must be journaling every day. Now, people are like, yeah, I do it occasionally and I do it here and there. And I'm like, okay, so if you're building an online business, or if you're building any business or anything, right, whatever lifestyle you want, you must be journaling about it every day, not just for what you want tomorrow, but what you want to be living in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time. Now, you don't have to be super clear on that, but you do have to have an awareness of what you're working for in a way, right? So let me give you an example. So, you know, I'll use my example. So for example, like when I first started online, I wasn't very busy. Wasn't very busy with clients, wasn't very busy with that first 18 months, crucial. You know, I have to talk about this 9-month and 18-month birthing cycle, right? Crucial. That first 18 months online for me, there was so much doubt. There was so much, what am I doing? There was so much people questioning and telling me to stop this psychic shit. And what am I doing online? And stop this. Like let alone me figuring out what on earth I'm doing, right? At the same time, I was still kept going. And I was also journaling every single day about how much money I make, about my clients, about being a world traveler, about being the best healer in the world, about doing all this stuff, like the lifestyle and the dreams that I've always wanted, but I was giving gratitude for them now, right? This is back then. And the hardest thing, and this is the thing that people don't get, right? So if there's one thing you want to take from this live stream about changing your reality, whether you're in isolation or not, right? Perfect time actually in this little incubator. I'm calling it an incubator. I'm not calling it isolation. I'm calling it an incubator, right? Because this is exactly a perfect time when we go inside to rewrite our reality and do this work. This is like, you know, I know I'm in an incubator out here. I don't quite know what for yet, but I could feel it energetically. I'm like, wow, there's something huge coming here. It's freaking awesome. I've got a little bit of conscious understanding, but not the full picture yet. And I'm like, okay, I'm just trusting. And holding that vibration. So when we're journaling every day about how amazing our lifestyle is and the freedom and whatever else we're journaling, and we're giving gratitude, we're like, I'm so grateful that this has happened and this is what's happening, and I'm so grateful and this is what I did it for in the first place, and blah, 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 right? That is the hardest thing to hold when your reality is like 50 miles or more like away from that, right? The hardest thing to do is to journal your reality into reality when the first part's always the hardest, right? Journaling that. Now, I was saying to my clients and on the Life to Purpose Mentorship live stream that when the first 18 months online, like I said, I wasn't that busy, right? But when I would journal on a Sunday afternoon for like 4 hours. Like I remember it so clearly. I was like, oh, this is nice, journaling away, like just writing, like all these amazing things happening in my life, and I'm so grateful. And this is 5-10 years down the track. I don't know, time is not really a thing, but it wasn't my reality now. Oh my God, no way, right? And that's the hardest thing. And you just got to keep going, and you train yourself to be there and pull those feelings into the now, because that's what brings it into the now, right? Then the other little crucial piece, and this is a big crucial piece, okay? Our journaling every day is not necessarily about creating our tomorrow, although it contributes to that. It's about creating our bigger picture vision, right? So get clear on your 5 to 10 year vision. What sort of lifestyle do you want to be living? Who do you want to be around? What's the feeling that brings to you of having a loving family, or whatever the thing is, right? When you do that every day, right, you've got your 5-10 year vision, and you're journaling every day, even though right now it's not this, right, but you're journaling about it. What then starts to happen, you're journaling on this, right, as if it's already happened. You're feeling it. Sometimes you break down and crying, and like it happens, right? Because it's not your reality, and you'll have these wake up moments. You're like, but then you're like, okay, I'm going to train and shift back into this feeling, yeah? So then when we can continue to journal our reality every day, what happens then? It's like spirit talks to you from here in a way, yeah, there's a way to explain it, and it'll send back vibes, or it'll send back ideas, and it'll drop them in on this bit of timeline here, and you'll be like, oh, I got to create this thing in my business, and and you go and you create it, and and then you're journaling every day, and you're and you're journaling about this vision, and it's bringing you forward. It's like you are. Does that make sense? Like, this is what I was sharing with someone. I was like, I have to share this. Well, I'm sharing it now. I'm like, obviously I have to share it. So when we've got those 5 and 10 year vision, and you don't feel like journaling every day, just know that you start to go this way instead of this way towards that dream vision, right? Because the hardest part is in the start, right? And as I shared in the blog the other day, anyone who's ever done it though will say that it's worth it, of course, right? Easy? Right? That's why not many people do. But the journaling is a crucial piece, because it shifts your vibration and it pulls that energy in. And those ideas that drop in, you need to trust them. Just like me getting in the car again and driving to an off-grid property in Victoria, and I'm like, it feels right. It doesn't make no sense, no logical sense whatsoever. But here, absolute dead set certainty. 100% certainty. And it's so interesting because Lois, my mentor, my dear mentor, who I've had so many sessions with over the years back on the coast, she would always talk about this certainty, right? When I start doubting my intuition, or not trusting myself, and she brings me back to this certainty feeling. And it's so interesting because I'd kind of forgotten about that in a way, and I'm driving out of Brisbane, and I'm stopping at the traffic lights in the city, and you know, I just look over and there's like a Toyota car yard, and the big billboard is like that certainty feeling, and I was just like, oh yeah, we're going to Victoria. This is like, okay. Right? But I really, you know, really want to share that, you know, and this is where the journaling and everything is like, it's so crucial. If you're not doing that, no wonder your life's not working, right? And the hardest piece for people to stick to and commit to, they can be doing all this business strategy. I'm like, dude, like that is pointless unless you're doing the mindset work and the energetic alignment work. Like that's I wouldn't be where I am today without it. You know, I can't stress that enough. But that analogy of like, you know, 5 and 10 year bubble, for example, when you're doing the work every day and you're turning up, it's like it sends back a this is the next step, because it's pulling you into this alignment. Like I said, you stop journaling and writing about this, well, you're just going to get pulled back into society and all the stuff ultimately, right? It's big. Let me know if that helps, guys. I don't know why I just started talking about that. Obviously that needed to come through, because when we look at what's happening in the world, it's like this is a perfect incubator time to do this sort of work, because not only is it going to contribute to your own personal life, this is you holding the vibration of you allowing your heart to have what it wants and allowing you to hold that vibration for the universe. Because when you follow your heart and you listen and you trust that, it brings you alive. And what does that do? It brings more joy and love and all that stuff that you crave, I guess, right? Instead of being here in the logic mind that tells you all the fear and everything that are trying to catch, like the virus, guys, is the fucking fear. Like the virus is the fear, okay? Disconnect from the fear. Tap into your truth and your heart, right? Disconnect from the media. Disconnect from the energetics of the collective that is in fear, right? How do you do that? You connect back to what you want in your heart. And it might be completely irrelevant to anything going on in the world. You don't have to be a humanity healer and like, I gotta save the world. Like, you only need to save your own heart, because your heart's vibration is the most powerful vibration that's going to shift the entire planet if you only trust it and follow it to its wholehearted self. Oh my gosh, talk about this, like, want to hear me in 4, like, off grid, like, talk about reconnecting. There's so much more that wants to stream through. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Erin says, here's a perfect example. Erin says, a part of me is scared to death as I have low immune system, yes, and my son has asthma. But another part of me is like, what is this? As long as we're doing what we're supposed to do, we can't stop the inevitable of what God and the universe has planned for our destiny. Exactly, right? And this is the thing where I talk about exit points and I talk about all these things where, you know, like, yes, we're going to, you know, follow our heart and do these things and, you know, like move into this, like, you know, we create our reality. We do, right? But yes, there's a bit of a destiny thing it's more like, I don't know if it's like create our reality or come into alignment with our destiny. Which one is it, right? Because people say, well, we've got free will to choose. Yeah, we do. We have a destiny and we have a choice and free will to choose whether we choose to follow that destiny. And I tell you what, sometimes it's not easy to trust yourself, and everyone thinks that you're crazy because you're driving west and the category 4 cyclones didn't even come. Like, you don't know how much I processed that. Like, I could feel it. People didn't have to fucking tell me. Like, do you know what I mean? And the whole being prepared thing and the whole January prediction, like, I was so scared to even do that January prediction, right? And I put natural disasters because then I kind of covered myself. I'm like, not talking about this stuff, right? But I was still going to talk about it, right? And it's so interesting what's happening in the world now, that April, May, like, okay, so I think it was you, Erin, that said, you know, like, how long is it going to last? Now, it's so interesting, right? This has been coming up a bit with my clients and stuff, because they're saying a 2-week lockdown, right? Maybe that's changed a little bit, but everyone's like, okay, 2-week lockdown. And I'm like, out bush and off grid, I was like, it's not a 2-week lockdown. It takes 2 weeks to lock down everybody. I think they were saying that not to freak people out. Ultimately, if you're going to put a world on halt, it takes 2 weeks to lock everybody down, right? And if you look at the countries that have already been on lockdown, it's just getting extended and extended and extended. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. Who knows what's going to happen, okay? There's so many different stories and theories and things that have been shared on Facebook. Well, they're getting taken off Facebook and stuff, so I'm not really going to go into that stuff right now. I did share some stuff about it, and it got taken down and flagged and said that, you know, this is marked as spam or whatever. And I was like, oh, this is so fucking interesting, right? And then other mentors have been talking about it and their stuff's being taken down, and I'm like, this is really interesting. So I'm not really going to talk about that stuff right now. But what I do want to talk about is How long is it going to go on for? I feel like it'll go on till August, September. Now, when I originally did the January prediction, and, you know, in the starting, if you didn't see that, if you scroll down my page, I did reshare that recently because I was like, I got this freaking message back in January. I just put natural disasters so that I kind of covered myself. But at the same time, I didn't really know what it was. Like, if you watch that January prediction, I'm like, what does this mean? You know, and I kept getting, be prepared, be prepared. I kept showing people, be prepared. Like, you know, I was like, it was coming. And then the other piece was, what was I going to say to that? So prediction, oh yeah, and like about, you know, like how long is it going to last? When the star being showed me that all the stuff that I shared on that prediction, you know, I said, well, when is this going to happen? They said April, May. Now, I've heard a lot of different theories and stuff, and I mean, who really knows what's happening, right? Unless the people in charge are doing it, right? So I thought, oh, maybe it's going to end April, May, but I feel, you know, it's interesting because this is already happening, the lockdown and stuff, but I got the message about April, May, and this is why I intuitively feel the worst has not yet happened yet, because April, May. Now, when I was in the car sorting out all technology stuff before I got on live stream earlier today, the radio, I don't know, must be the local radio or something, came on and it was saying, like, it was talking about Qantas, the airline shutting down, and how many jobs are being lost or put on hold or whatever. And I was like, well, this is interesting, but what about the other airlines? Like, and maybe they were just talking about Qantas because it's ABC radio and it's in Australia or something. Like, I don't know about the other airlines, but I was like, is it just Qantas or is it other airlines? You know what I mean? I was like, because if it's only Qantas, that's just fucking weird. Like, that doesn't make any sense, you know. And a lot of stuff doesn't make sense to me. You know, they're like, okay, we're going to lock down schools, but we're going to keep all the like health system paramedics and people operating, and their kids can go to school, but everyone else needs to stay home. Like, that does not make logical sense to me at all. Like, seriously, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, for what they're trying to do to protect people or something, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I understand the hospital staff and everything need to be there, but the other aspect, oh no, the kids can still go to school, but those kids can't, like, that like, just shit like that doesn't make sense. Like, and so, I mean, maybe it is other airlines. I haven't looked at news, I'm not interested. It's just things that don't make sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make sense. So we can keep this open and this open, but we can shut those things, but we can, like, doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? So anyway, this is why I'm like, not really believing anything and just really staying in this bubble of vibration of where I'm being called to go and create and stay in this vibe. Like, yeah, of course, and I've been breaking down in tears even on my road trip. You know, I'd feel the energy, like, I'd feel this energy and I'm like, who is this? Like, you know, I'm always like tapping in, like, who am I feeling? I couldn't quite place it, and then it dropped in. I was like, this is the world. I was just like, like, lucky I'm out in the country driving on this amazing road. But and you know, and the grief that hit me several times over this past few days, it's just like, oh my God, this is like the world, you know, and I just need to cry for the world sort of thing. Like, just let alone my own adjustments of coming off grid and everything, which I love, ultimately, heart and soul love, but it's an adjustment. And as I say, you know, any change pulls out the grief cycle, and it's so important that we feel it to heal it, because then our heart becomes freer to be in that higher vibrational space, right? So, okay, so Hector says, since a long time ago, I used to say we will go back to basics, and yes, this is the time. And this is the thing, right? So with so talking about how long it's going to last, let me quickly finish that bit. So, you know, and I feel like April, May is going to be the worst. Now, someone shared with me through all these means, because I'd shared that prediction. They said, you know, my husband saw or something, Trump said it's going to amp up in April or May or something. Now, when I was listening to the airline thing this morning, the part that cued me, I was paid attention, they said, until further notice, like, you know, because they were talking about when are the staff going to get their jobs back or whatever, and they said, well, until the end of April is 6 weeks. End of April is going to be a crucial piece. Like, that's until then, until further notice, until the end of April. And I was just like, wow, there's the end of April date again, right? April, May. That's when they said it's going to happen, right? The star being when I said, when is this going to happen? And they said April, May. Now, what's going to happen? I don't know, right? But it's interesting that we're all going on lockdown leading up to this April, May. Is it the worst that's going to happen, or is that when it's going to start to shift back into normality? I don't know, because even if you put a whole world on lockdown for 2 weeks, which takes 2 weeks to put everyone on lockdown, country by country, and then they're going to hold us here until they do what? I don't know. And then it's going to take a little while to come back to normality, right? And that's going to be a knock-on effect. And I feel, and because when I said, well, how long is this going to last? And they said August, right? Now I've heard other sources say it's going to go on for 6 months. I'm like, oh, there's my freaking August prediction. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, mentally prepare yourself for August, September, even longer. Not necessarily in lockdown for that long, but if you look at the chaos it's creating in the world, for the world to go back to normality, whatever that shift in normality is, it's going to take a time. It's a bit like when I share, you know, like the energetic fallout of the energetic fallout of removing yourself from somebody's energy, or the energetic fallout of getting a healing done. There's a knock-on effect. Things dismantle and fall apart and all that jazz. Do you know what I mean? Like, and if you look at the world, it's going to take a little while to get back to normality. So mentally start preparing yourself. Like, this is the chaos of the transformation. This is when, you know, think back to your own spiritual awakening. It wasn't pretty. And for 18 months, usually it's like, what is going on? Why do I keep crying? Why do all these things, right? There's a healing cycle that goes through this. So when you are going, how long is this going to last? Like, prepare yourself. Like August, September, end of the year. Like, it's going to take a little bit of time for normality to come back online, right? Now, go through the grief, go through the trauma, go through all the things that you've lost, and the normality and the safety in the routine that you've had. Because, you know, I talk about certainty just before, and I was like, that certainty feeling, that's like, I know I'm meant to be here. Like, all the logical logistics side about it, energetically, I know I'm supposed to be here. For whatever reason, there's bits dropping in, but there's more coming, and I can feel it. I don't quite know what that is yet. But it's so interesting that I'm in this like fully sustainable off-grid, like holy moly, like talk about a shift in environment. But this has always been my heart about that back to basics living, like eating off like the whole thing, eating off the land, everything. Yeah. And it's so interesting, you know, like this whole shift, like, yeah, things might go back to normal and stuff, but I'm so curious that April, May, the airlines, end of April, like obviously they've got something planned. Who knows, maybe that's when the switch in currency is going to be in effect from the 1st of May. Who knows, you know, like from oil back to gold back. Who knows, whatever. At the end of the day, prepare yourself for that long, right? Go through the grief of the change. If you can support yourself in grieving the change and what's happening in the world, you're going to fly. Yeah. So Louise says, totally agree. Staying out of fear is the key to navigating our way through this 100%. And we are the light bearers. We are, you know, the people who know the bigger picture. We are the ones who are staying clear on the truth that this is a spiritual awakening for the planet. The planet has needed to shift back to the new earth and all this sort of jazz. Like, this is what happens. And this as a healer. And I've been talking and training my Trust Intuition tribe for this for years. Like, if we all go offline, which I feel like the internet will be shut down for a period of time as well. I don't know when. But I am getting that message as well, that everything will turn off and then it will all come back online in a different frequency, or who knows what's really going on. But I do get that message, and this is what I've been training my Trust Intuition tribe for years. Like, if and when that does happen, because I heard this years ago, you know, and now I'm like, oh, it's actually happening, and that's, you know, a whole thing. You know, when that happens, don't freak out. You're intuitive. You have a vibration of holding a higher understanding, awareness. You're intuitive. You receive telepathic messages. You receive intuition via your visions, via your claircognizance, via your clairaudience, via your feelings. And this is a key to stepping up and trusting like never before. So you might want to like practice with a person. Like, okay, let's have some like telepathy training days where we communicate from this isolation space, and then we're going to jump online and talk to each other and see how many things we got right before technology goes offline. Now, maybe technology won't go offline, but I have a feeling it is going to for a chunk. Yeah, banks, everything, it's all, you know, it's all getting a rework over, right? So Hector says, also Virgin Airlines, but I believe is more from government indications. Mexico will wait, and then trusting we need to go forward out on our trip. Need to forward our trip to country. Yes. Yeah. It's so interesting, right? It's just, yeah. I was getting that message too, like, because it was the government saying all this stuff about the Qantas and everything, because then they were saying this is so un-Australian, you know, like of because Qantas is Australian, of course, of, you know, of what the big red kangaroo stands for and all this sort of does. And I'm like, oh, this is so interesting. And I was like, oh, turn it off now, I'm busy. Got work to do in this sense. So yeah, I just really wanted to come online and share all this and just let you guys know that I'm still here. I'm adjusting, and I know I'll get back in flow shortly, and there's some freaking amazing things coming. Trust the Intuition obviously is still open, and that closes on the it's the end of April, on the 31st on the 31st of March. And I just have to say that the next full moon ceremony coming up is our Easter full moon, and it's going to be pretty freaking special. It's on the 8th of April, which is this a couple of days before Easter weekend. Now, Easter is always a time of what? Death and rebirth. So let me wind this down a bit because I turned my car off because it got hot. And it's a time of death and rebirth. Now, when we look at what is happening in the world, and Easter is coming up, what a crucial, pivotal time for all these shifts in the world to then have Easter and a full moon at Easter. You guys can feel the energy of that already, right? So with this full moon ceremony, I got something pretty special planned, and I have a feeling you'll get a taste of it before the full moon ceremony as well. So being out here, all sorts of magic stuff is happening, and the full moon ceremony is going to be next level. Obviously it won't be happening on the off-grid property, but in reception there will be an amazing full moon ceremony. But yeah, so there's lots of amazing things coming. The full moon is definitely one of them. It will be a full moon ceremony not to be missed because of the energetic frequency that is happening. And you know, what have we got? The end of March, beginning of April, like, I don't know, it's at its peak time, and it just so happens that there's a full moon and Easter at that same time. It's just so interesting to me, the timing of everything, and I'm like, wow, there's some big rebirths happening on the planet. And yeah, look at that as well, that lineup. I'm like, oh, this is huge. This is really, really huge. So yeah, stay in trust, stay in deep, deep trust, stay connected to your heart. Cry and grieve, because when you allow yourself to cry and grieve, and if you have trouble doing that, watch a sad movie, listen to music that you know makes you cry. Because when we have grief and we don't feel it, we shut it down and we stay up in our mind. And what does our mind do? It keeps us in fear. It keeps us in anxious, and we need a plan. We need something to figure out. We need to figure out what's happening, right? And at the moment, it's total uncertainty. Can you be, and this is what my dear mentor Lois teaches, taught me so much. Can you, well, she didn't use these words, but what I learned from that whole experience is, can you feel safe? Can you train yourself to feel safe in the uncertainty? Because when you do, you tap into the certainty that allows all the uncertainty to disappear, because it's your connection to source and spirit that is the most certain thing that guides you in every single step, in every single breath, in every single so crucially important right now. Okay, now if you in this state and you're like freaking out and you're what's going on, and I'm worried and I'm in fear, like, and you know that, turn everything off. Maybe turn on a sad movie, make yourself cry, because I guarantee there will be grief in here, because the planet is in shock right now. Everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? The grief cycle is shock, anger, grief, get on with life again. There's other stages, but that's a basic thing, right? Now you can stay in shock when this is not happening. A bit like me on my road trip. I'm like, it's not happening. I'm just, on my road trip. Doesn't matter, natural disaster or not, I'm doing this anyway. Like, and then I'm like, fuck the reality of it. I'm like, actually, I've been in shock too, right? It's a normal human process, and the world is currently going through it. So when you can go through the process yourself, the shock, the grief hits, allow yourself to feel it. Like, the change in routine, the safety of routine that everyone in the whole world, not just your local area, has been in. And that creates a safe environment, because we've got the routine. The kids go to school, everyone goes to work, like whatever the deal is, right? It's a routine that creates safety, that allows us to feel safe in the whole environment, blah, blah, blah. Now, when we look at that safety aspect, when we don't have that safety net routine, we're like freaking out, and because it's changed, the grief that hasn't hit yet keeps us in here, and this is where we'd stay in here. If you just allow yourself to get the tears out, It allows you to come back to center. It switches off that flight or fight. You know, you allow your nervous system to calm down again, right? So it's so important at this time if you can go through the grief cycle and allow yourself to go through that grief, yeah, because then you'll come out the other side back into the certainty, back into the trust, back into the, okay, this is the planet awakening, and I'm covered in goosebumps as I say this, right? This is the planet awakening, and this is a change, and as a healer, as a sensitive person, let yourself feel the feelings of the change. Yeah, that's what's going to see you through. Okay, something else changes. Okay, no, shock, grief. It was usually shock, anger. Like, how the fuck can they do this to people? And like, you know, like, how are we going to do it? Like, you know, it's still here, and all the emotions are normal, right? And to get anger out, push against, there's a car door frame, push against a door frame in your house. You know, like the anger, like you can push really hard. Like, it's awesome to get anger out, right? And every time I get anger out, it's usually a whole pile of grief that comes out straight away, because underneath anger is sadness, right? And when we can allow ourselves to feel that grief, we return back to homeostasis. Yeah, it's a normal human aspect to go through all these emotions, especially, you know, when we're just being taken out of our normal environment and we're like, hang on a sec, what's going on here? You see what I mean? So yeah, so really crucial. So full moon ceremony coming up on the 8th of April. We've got my dates correct. Or the 7th of April, depending on where you are in the world. Lots of big changes coming up in the world. Stay centered, stay focused. Lots of amazing things about to birth out of me out here off grid. So if you are feeling, you know, not at ease or anything, tap into me on the off-grid environment and just know that that centered, deep connection is available to you. You just have to choose to connect to it, because you just have to bring your conscious awareness back to it, because you're always connected. It's just your conscious awareness of it, right? So important to remember. And trust your intuition is open, guys. So if you really want to step into this little cocoon space, we've got an awesome incubation period. Trust Intuition is fully online. You can do it as fast or as slow as you want online. This is your chance to become a certified healer and be able to do this from your home environment. So there's any time to choose to really step up in your abilities, let alone create a lifestyle that you can get in the car and leave when you choose to, let alone be able to work from wherever you are in the world, or at home. You know, it's like perfect. Everyone's like, what about work and income? And it's like, well, this is the online world, guys. We can do whatever we want, when we want, all around the space. So crucially important to have this available, yeah? So let me just check. Danny has put this comment here as well. Let me see where it is. Okay, is it going to refresh? Hang on a sec. There's comments here. So the Trust Intuition link is in the top of the heading here, and you can also check it on my page. If you scroll down, you'll see Trust Your Intuition there as well. And this isn't coming up. Let me see if I can touch it. Yes, okay. So true, Hannah. I'm allowing the grief shock today. Yes, as you know, the timing of what I'm doing. So tears, grief, back to center. Okay, yeah, it's a process. Yeah, it's such a process. Just like when somebody dies, or like I say, it's any change will trigger the grief cycle. It's what I teach. Number one, like in module number 1, was to go through the grief cycle and how to support ourselves and other people in that, because this is like reality. This is reality of being human in a human body in this environment that we call planet Earth and all that jazz, right? So important. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off this live stream. If you think that it can help somebody, please share it on your page or tag them in the comments. If you are on YouTube, as always, remember you can like and subscribe. I'll be back real soon. You better keep an eye out, because there'll be some potent stuff coming through me out off grid, and then I'm going to bring it to you guys here online, and you can have it wherever you are around the world in your own little isolation incubation chamber, and take what I said on this live stream and journal your reality into existence, because this is a perfect little incubation period, like to be able to not only help support your life but also the world, because by doing you and your life, oh my god, you support the world, right? So Erin says, I want to cry so bad. My eyes keep watering, my skin right below my eye is burning. I'm trying so hard not to cry, and I really need to. Okay, so hang your head upside down over the sink, yeah, in the bathroom, so the tears run the other way, or place tissues underneath and keep replacing them, yeah? Just support yourself in whatever way, shape or form. So, and I'm curious about the burning. So sometimes if I wear not natural makeup, like if I, whatever reason, buy chemical makeup, I find it burns me, man. So I don't know if you got commercial makeup. What is it? Chemical makeup, eye makeup, foundation, moisturizer, take it all off. Take it all off. Let your skin, in this incubation period, let everything just reset. Maybe that's not the case for you, but just saying, I don't know, that just came to mind, because I know if I wear chemical makeup, it burns, really burns, especially my eyes. Yeah, especially when my body is full of, like, it needs a detox, it's not clean, or everything's more sensitive. Yeah, so yeah, that just came to mind as well. And there was one thing more I was gonna say. What was that? I don't know if I remember. Yes, keep an eye out, because there's lots of amazing things coming, and Trust Your Intuition is open if you really want to shift your lifestyle and step up and be the healer in the world, because through this transformation, nothing is going to be the same. Nothing is going to be the same. Yeah, haven't worn makeup in 2 weeks, awesome. So let your body detox. Yeah, and crying helps shift what's in your liver, which our liver is where we detox from. Yeah, and so the crying also shifts, like the grief is like toxic, right? Like buried grief is toxic to our system. So allow yourself to support, hang your head upside down, whatever you need to do to let the tears out, because that will start to all shift when you get that big chunk out. Yeah, not easy. But yeah, like this is, you know, like nothing will be the same. Like the earth will never be the same going back to the way it was. Like that's why this is happening. You know, if you imagine after a spiritual awakening, your life's not go back the same. Sometimes we want to go back to sleep, right? But we're like, you know, there's sometimes we're like, why am I awake? Why am I conscious? Let me go back to sleep. But it just doesn't happen. The world right now will never be the same. It might be better, might be worse, who really knows? But we can create our life to be better than what it was. And this whole thing is bringing everybody back to the heart. We're seeing stuff from Italy and China and all these places that have been in lockdown for weeks. Like the community is pulling together to support everyone, right? It's kind of interesting what's already happening in the awakening of the heart. I love you guys. See you soon.